I think it should be
Oh.
fine.
In the gallery view, make sure you're side by side on the Zoom.
We are side by side. So
And then that upper left, once you're
Yep.
hit live, you're live.
Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. I think we're good. Thank you.
Cool. Bye.
Bye. Perfect. So sorry for that delay. So it's afternoon at noon, right? Yeah, it's afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for our new segment, Live with the Locals. It's kind of our opportunity and way to connect with local businesses and community members in the area to give people kind of some insight to see, what their businesses are doing, how they're, impacted by this whole virus situation and what they're doing to kind of overcome and change. Because I think that's what we've all had to do, is be mindful of change and overcoming, taking things day by day. Nothing's staying the same. So,
Right.
So without further ado, we'll welcome Wanda Keenan with Residential Mortgage Services, RMS. And
Hi, everybody.
Someone directly from a local mortgage company, so she can speak directly to, obviously this is closely tied into what we do in real estate on a day-to-day basis, but she can speak into that world a little bit. So thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Thank you for having me. And sorry the dogs are going to bark a little bit, mailman time, but
that's part of the work from home. We all have like our home decor and our kitchen views and what we got to do. It's totally fine.
And the dogs, yes, that is it. That's the thing. Thanks for having me, Steph.
No, you're welcome. So if you just want to introduce yourself a little bit more, give us a little insight as to what you do with RMS and what, without any, hiccups and situations going on in the world, what things look like for you.
Sure, yeah. So I am a residential mortgage officer with RMS, or Residential Mortgage Services, focused primarily Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. Residential real estate purchase and refinance. So I've been in the real estate industry for 20 something years. And I am, about 18 or 19 months as a lender. Love it. Really glad to be doing it. I feel like this is a great introduction to the worst it could possibly get. So it only gets better from here. Thank you, COVID. Right? But we all learn the hard way, and that's fine. So we'll all be much smarter when this is all over.
The learning
Hopefully.
process.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Yeah. So you've been doing everything. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, you do refinances. I mean, all that's entailed, if someone isn't familiar, doing general mortgages, you do government loans. Obviously, all of those things have been impacted, but you're kind of hitting all those bullet points on a day-to-day basis typically.
Yeah, so at Residential Mortgage, we have all of the government products. We do work with New Hampshire Housing, which is great for cash assistance programs. Also, right now, with the government loans being a little more stringent with their guidelines, New Hampshire Housing has stepping up and allowing some of those borrowers to be able to go through their products, which are great, good rates with them as well. We have a phenomenal construction program, which I think is going to be pretty relevant as we move forward and out of this particular phase of life that we're in. So conventional, jumbo, seasonal properties. The only thing, technically the only thing we don't do are island properties. Other than that, we got you.
Awesome. So, I mean, that's a good view of what you do on a day-to-day basis. How have things, generally speaking, I mean, once, I would say the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, once this is all kind of come to light, how has your business in general been, affected by that or impacted?
So, it's definitely impacted based on whether people continue to have employment. That tends to be one of the biggest issues, which we've touched on a little bit. People who are at this point furloughed, their pre-approvals are sort of in a wait and hold position. They just need to get back to work, 1 paycheck, 2 paychecks, and we can continue to move forward with the pre-approval as long as their employment situation or their hourly rate has not changed. So if that's the case, we're going to go right back to where they were, get their pre-approval back in full effect. As far, I will say, I think the the consumers nervous. And so we're spending a lot of time counseling them as to what to expect, ways to not get too nervous, hopefully, and to stay focused on sort of the end goal, which I think is going to be, we're going to be okay. Yep. It's just a bump. It's just a bump.
That's what I keep telling people. I said, ultimately, there has to be there's an end somewhere. Obviously we hope sooner than later, and obviously it's the dramatics of it and all, everything's happening, but you just take it day by day. And for right now, everybody's kind of living for a lot of these non-essential businesses to kind of, those are the people that are, I think, been the most impacted from what we've seen, and have been furloughed or laid off temporarily and whatnot. So have you seen anything changing in terms of appraisals and timelines and things like that?
So the timelines for the appraisals have not been changing, but I have noticed I have one right now going that is a desktop appraisal, which is new, right? It's great. So basically they're not leaving their house. They're going to do it from their office, and they're going to use the comps that are available. They've asked the homeowner who's actually buying the property she's been renting, they've asked her to send pictures and to be, sort of the eyes and ears. We've had a few drive-by appraisals that have been approved, which is great, which is sort of a trend in the market anyways. Appraisal waivers have been more common recently, so not outside of the norm, but the turnaround times seem to be right on track still.
Okay.
As long as, and the appraisers are keeping safe.
Good. And same thing for, I mean, would you say someone kind of looking to purchase, have you still noticed that window, if, their job is secured and their financing is secured, still the, 30, 45 days, or are you finding that it's a little bit longer? Okay, good.
No, so yeah, for us at RMS, we actually, our entire staff is still employed. They're all working from home. Underwriters, processors, everybody's still plugging along. So, we work under the standard 10-10-10 rules, 10 to get it into underwriting first, 10 to clean up conditions, and 10 to get it to the table. So we're still 30 days. If you can get 40, great. But 30 is still a possibility. I will say the government funded or the government backed loans, those are a little more difficult right now, which I think everybody's sort of been talking about. And they're tightening up their restrictions. So as I've said before, if you're working with a borrower who's got an FHA, VA, or USDA pre-approval, have a conversation with the lender and make sure everything's still as it was before this all started. If it was if it's a 3-week-old pre-approval, have a conversation and make sure it's still the same.
I think that's kind of what we found across the board. I mean, especially in our industry, between title and lending and agents, and what we're doing is the communication factor has just had to, everybody's communicating a little bit more than normal. And it's just checking in with those buyer sellers, you're checking in with the buyers and finding out, day to day what's happening, because things are changing so much and so often.
Yeah. And I don't think that's a bad thing. No, I think that's a good thing. We should be communicating anyway in that fashion.
I would totally agree. I think there's a lot of silver linings in the situation. And I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned, I think, throughout it as well. So perfect.
Absolutely.
So in terms of, I know you touched on it, but what are some of the biggest things that you found that either you yourself and the company have done to really cope with, the changes that have happened? I know, for example, title and closings, we found there's those, the new drive-through closings and the e-signatures, that people can do it. I think, you have to be lighthearted about it. But what have you guys found that you've done differently to cope with things?
Yeah, I think for us, we're really lucky, to be honest. As a general rule, documents can be delivered digitally to us for an applicant. They can send us everything we need right through our app. So we have an RMS app that includes a scanner. So it's really simple. They can just scan their documents to us. We can do Zoom meetings if they really want to go through their cost worksheet and we want to show them, everything. We don't have to do the face-to-face appointments as much. So for us, I think we're very lucky in that way. It is hard to not attend your closings because you kind of want to be there for your customers. So out of respect for my title colleagues, I've chosen not to attend closings moving forward, but I have called in and Zoomed in and things like that so that I can be there to answer questions. But otherwise, I think for us, we're in a position where the company is set up in such a fashion, they're able to get everybody at home set up and ready to go. And we're kind of plugging along still. So as long as
go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. As long as the servicers, kind of stay working with us, we shouldn't see a lot of changes. But right now the servicers are a little bit nervous based on, the government's idea that maybe there's a 6-month, 3-month, 6-month hiatus on your mortgage payments. That's certainly impacting the market and the rates and the appetite of the servicers to purchase loans in this particular climate. So that's the biggest challenge for us.
And overall rates though seem, I mean, they've held pretty consistent. I know there's a lot of people's, concerns, buyers out there are worried about things changing, and, sometimes these property appraisals and all these unknown things with not knowing. But right now everything seems to be, I don't want to say the word stable, but they haven't changed a ton in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you're right. The volatility is in the government-backed loans right now. And ultimately it's just for a particular borrower. So, and a particular credit scenario. So it's not across the board. Conventional loans are still really good. The rates are still really good. I've got a lot of refis. I've had a lot of borrowers in the last couple of days come to me and want to talk about their rate and talk about the possibility of getting pre-approved. I would just say, I think it's a great time if you have any ideas of purchasing in the summer. It's a great time to talk to us. We're home, we're here, we're available. It's a good time to see what your credit looks like and a good time to get prepared for that spring market that's just right around the corner. So.
Yeah, and I would say too, I think just from buyers I've worked with, I think you would agree, it's a time to look over options too. I mean, a government loan, maybe that was what you were thinking, but if you have certain assets and people are getting creative with different things, if they need to make something work, there's other avenues that sometimes people can go, and weighing the options. I think having a professional like yourself, just knowing what they can do is really the best way to kind of tackle it too. So well, it's good to hear. I think it's reassuring to hear though that, business is, I don't want to say as usual for you guys, but you're finding and you're confident that, timelines are still consistent, and, communication is key. You're available to talk, and people should be aware of that.
Yes, absolutely. That's the big thing, is to know that we're available all the time. I mean, we are anyway, not just in this COVID environment, but even more so where we're home, we're here, we're working, we're set up, we're fully technology based. So no questions should go unasked. If you have a question, you should definitely reach out and make sure that your lender's exploring all the options for you. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, I would encourage everyone to go ahead and you can follow RMS on Facebook. You guys have outlets, I mean, all over the place to kind of check them out. Follow their website. If they have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we can get you connected to Wanda directly for specifics. But it's always nice to have the face, give people some reassurance of what's going on in your industry, and especially if they're out there considering looking to buy. There's still people that need to buy and sell. So it's
absolutely,
it's a business. That's why we're essential, is, buyers sell and then they need a place to move to. So
that's right.
Where our roles come in. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For our Live with the Local segment. Here. And we'll, and of course we'll be in touch, but if anybody has questions, reach out. Thank you.